Not Tested on Animals #1 by Black Rose Publishing imagines what happens when an immoral animal testing facility is destroyed in a freak accident. If things get a little strange, a little crazy, we're going to talk about it right here in our review. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of indie comic Not Tested on Animals #1 from Black Rose Publishing, now available on Kickstarter. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notification, and stay tuned because we're going to talk about what happened in this issue, what we liked, what we didn't like, and the final score. Let's talk about the credits. This issue was written by Jordan Nye, with art by Bobby Eziagu, colors by Robert Nugent, letters by Justin Birch, and the cover is also drawn by Bobby Eziagu. All right, so let's jump into the heart of this issue. It goes very quick, and almost none of the characters are named. So we're just going to describe them as character A, B, and C. So hang in there, but it goes pretty quick, and it's pretty interesting. So we catch up with a nondescript gentleman who wears glasses and a nice suit who enters a research facility, and he heads down to his laboratory where it appears he's been experimenting on different kinds of animals. Cats, dogs, rabbits, you name it. And it looks like the experiments that he's doing on these animals are very painful and in some cases lethal to the animals. We don't know what he's trying to experiment on as far as the outcome of the results he's looking for, but it looks like he's definitely doing some damaging or painful things to the animals. Suddenly, the building is rocked by one or more or even a series of explosions. We don't know what caused the explosion or why, but we know that it is sprayed all the animals that are in the testing facility in the laboratory with strange chemicals and random various mixtures, and the place is in flames. Rubble is falling down all around them, and this doctor decides he's got to make a hasty retreat and evacuate before things get out of hand. Cut to a little bit time later. We don't know exactly how much later, but we see a hazmat team coming in to quarantine the entire area and clean up the facility because of noxious chemicals and strange smells, and they don't want anybody digging in too deep to find out what they were doing in that research facility. 2 people drive up in a armored vehicle, and they appear to be cleaners of a sort, where they're used to, through their conversation, explaining that they're used to cleaning up the doctor's messes from the strange experiments he's done in other places and other locations for whatever organization they work for. They enter the facility and they find animals scattered throughout. Most of them are still alive, but they're in sort of grotesque states of deformation. For example, they find a rabbit where it has faces growing out of its body in different locations. Their job is to collect the tags, kill the animals, and burn the bodies so that there's no evidence left behind. And as they make their way through the facility, they find all of the 30 animals that have been tagged and experimented on except for one. When the one cleaner decides to go down to a hallway to try and check it out to see if he can find that last animal, he is confronted by a hooded figure wearing a mask. He says, "Halt, you're under arrest, you don't belong here." The character speaks and says, "Hey, you give me all the tags, give me all of the evidence for those animals, and then get out of here or else I'll kill you very slowly and painfully." A shootout occurs, but this masked figure, who is in sort of a trench coat and a hoodie, is inhumanly strong, inhumanly fast, and he slashes and kills the first cleaner. Grabs up the bag full of tags and decides to take off. When the second cleaner arrives after a call for help, there's a shootout, and the second cleaner is faster and a better fighter, smacks the hooded figure in the face and knocks its mask off, and we see underneath that the character is a much bigger, much more intelligent, and much more humanoid looking version of animal specimen number 0001, which was the cat we saw in the first pages of the book. So it looks like the experimentation went completely sideways and haywire and created something that nobody ever suspected. That's how we end the issue. What do we like about Not Tested on Animals #1? The story concept is intriguing. It's very fast paced, plenty of action. It is rated mature, for mostly for language and some violence, bloody violence. And the whole setup that leads you into the cliffhanger is really strong. So very intrigued to see where the story goes next. what this means for animals that have been tested on, as far as this first one being a sort of humanoid cat, maybe evolved species animal of some sort, and whether or not it will lead to more, or if there's something else going on. Plenty of intrigue, plenty of energy, plenty of action. Generally speaking, a really strong way to start the series. What didn't we like about this issue? Well, if it wasn't clear from the description, it's the lack of the little bits of context. Nobody's named. You don't know what the facility is. You don't know who they work for. You don't know what the scientist was trying to do. So there's lots of little bits and pieces of information that build out the world that are almost entirely absent. As you start with the characters, they move through the story, beginning, middle, end, conflict, and then you end on a strong cliffhanger, which generally speaking is good, but the world building is almost non-existent. And so it would help to have a little bit of those details in there, and even tell you the time frame. For example, when the research facility is destroyed through explosions and a bomb or whatever happened to it, and then you jump forward to the hazmat team quarantining the area and cleaning up, it would have helped to put some time frame in there to understand how long it took for this cat person to evolve to become what they eventually will become. Was it a day? Was it several days? Was it weeks? Was it months? Something. So just little bits like that where the context and the world building is not at all present, which kind of makes the story feel very quick and fast, but at the same time feels a little incomplete. Let's switch gears to talk about the art. How is the art? It's actually pretty darn good. We've seen a lot of Kickstarter submissions. There's a little bit of a, I won't say manga-ish quality, but just an Eastern flair or tinge of flavor to the art style. But generally speaking, the character designs are solid. They're memorable. They're distinctive. The cat creature design looks pretty darn good. And the overall layouts, action, choreography, all the piece parts that you need for a solid, strange sci-fi action adventure story are there. So not the best art in the world by any means, but it's definitely a good to great solid showing for an indie submission. Final thoughts. What do we think about Not Tested on Animals number one? Good action, good pacing, an intriguing concept, really strong cliffhanger, and a lot of interesting ideas and concepts that are at play. On the plus, pretty solid art overall. On the downside, what we didn't like is just a lack of world building and context to understand who's who and what's what and why they're doing what they're doing. Maybe that'll get filled in later issues, but the fact that it's missing here kind of makes the story feel a little incomplete. A little incomplete. But overall, it was a good start to a good series. Therefore, we're going to give Not Tested on Animals number one from Black Rose Publishing a 7.8 out of 10. I think that's a solid score. It's a deserved score. All the piece parts are there for this to be a banger of a series, and we're looking forward to seeing what happens next. But let us know what do you think about animal testing gone awry type of stories. Do you like that type of science fiction, something along the lines of The Island of Dr. Moreau, or do you prefer something a little bit more tried and true when it comes to your sci-fi? Let us know in the comment section. Otherwise, please stay tuned through the outro for the next review.